the spaceship, playing with my brain and practically erased it. Mind races, I can't really take it. Never good enough and honestly I hate like, fuck dude, Cupid did me so stupid. Threw a pity party and I don't wanna do this. She threw me out cause I'm being emotional. I call her baby girl where I'm supposed to go. I never. All these fucking pretty girls want one thing. I might not know what it is, but it's not me. Wow. She want a guy who put her in a bad mood when she's feeling down. Yeah, that makes me pretty sad too. Yeah, all these fucking pretty girls want one thing. She loves me on the phone but fucking hates me when I'm there. I try my best to show I wanna, try my best to show I care. It's like she hates herself so much she loves the paper girl. I swear I cannot bring myself to hurt you, but your heart I can repair. Caught off guard, so shocked, can't talk now. Watching shows like Naruto to keep my head down. Then it clicks, I missed the messages she wrote down. So constricted like her hands around my throat now. You know I'd text you, you know I'd call you. And when it snows I'd be the one to warm you. But you don't want none, I'm in a long queue. Vladimir Putin, you looking for bad news. My lights go weak, they need a buff. Loving you is beat me up. How many times do I have to say it? I am not enough. Treat me like a string of love wrapped around your pretty thumb. Say that I'm here for you when I'm drunk because I'm fucking dumb. Need to stop but you're so pretty. Obito, this love might kill me. Her excuse is condescending. Fujimoto wrote my ending. All these fucking pretty girls want one thing. I might not know what it is, but it's not me. Wow. She want a guy who put her in a bad mood when she's feeling down. Yeah, that makes me pretty sad too. Yeah, all these fucking pretty girls want one thing. All these fucking pretty girls want one thing. I might not know what it is, but it's not me. Wow. She want a guy who put her in a bad mood when she's feeling down. Yeah, that makes me pretty sad too. Yeah, all these fucking pretty girls want one thing.
What's up, everybody? How we doing out there? It's been a while. It's been a while since I've just come on and jumped on and chatted with everyone. So hello, everybody. How are we out there? It is the 27th of April. Still almost April. April showers are almost done. Ready to bring in some Mayflowers, whatever the hell that phrase is. But I hope everybody's doing well out there. It is Sunday, and I'm just hanging out. I got things to say, got things to talk about, and like I said, it's been a while since I've jumped on and just done one of these streams where I just come in and talk news. Now, if you haven't seen me in a little bit, last episode, this past Wednesday, did about 30 minutes with Lenore Skenazy. She's the president of the Let Grow project, and a really cool conversation about what Let Grow is in terms of if you're a parent, letting your children do more. If you're a child, try to do more things independently, and how we just need to be more independent minded about how we raise our kids and things like that. So it was a great conversation. I had lots of fun chit chatting with her. And I encourage everyone to go check it out. And then afterwards, I did start kind of doing my normal bullshit about things and things like that. And made me want to come back and do it again tonight. So here I am. Hope everybody's doing well out there, wherever you're watching from. We always appreciate it. If you could like, share, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff wherever you're watching. We are out there on YouTube, Facebook, X, Kick, Rumble. We're covering all of our bases. So wherever you are consuming us from, please make sure to do your due diligence. And if you are listening to this later in podcast form, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, make sure to give us a follow on there, rate us 5 stars, and leave comments, do all that fun stuff. So it's been a while since I've done my preamble too, so I'm going to do that. We still don't have an Epstein client list. This is something that we've been promised. Dan Bongino's in there now. Kash Patel is officially sworn in, Pam Bondi. So I've heard from some of the shows I listen to and some people that maybe met with President Trump lately or talked to people that we need to be patient because there are people that they still haven't allowed in to get into places to do these things. And it's tough. I don't have that insider info. I have not talked to people in the Trump administration, nor do I probably will have the privilege to do that, to kind of get this inside info. But from somebody on the outside looking in, hearing the statements from someone like a Kash Patel, who is not new to Washington, who has been a player in Trump's first term. Pam Bondi is there, obviously. Dan Bongino on his show. Kash Patel obviously wrote Government Gangsters, which was, a whole entire tell-all book about all these people and how sideways they are. So it's not like they don't know things. Obviously Dan Bongino has had his sources inside and things like that, and we've heard him on his show. So I get it. When you're building cases and things like that, it's a matter of time, and they are doing some pretty, they're doing some stuff. Obviously, it never ends. Pam Bondi's been pretty good about getting the Tesla terrorists and things like that, and uh, so it's kind of, I voted for Trump, obviously, 3 times. You want to kind of give that grace period to those that he has selected, but you also don't want to let them live on their laurels and accept excuses and things like that. So if it really is, I heard, Glenn Beck saying that, he just met with the president on Wednesday and he had his interview and stuff like that on Blaze. And on his show, he was saying that um, he got from a trusted source in the government, in the Trump White House, he didn't say who it was, that it's that they need people underneath them to be confirmed and that they are dragging ass in Congress at doing that. Now, if that's the case, that's kind of an excuse to me. Go around that. Go around that. You are the people in power. Figure it out. Figure it out. Because every day that this stuff goes on, it gets worse. And, I'm going to have some stuff on Epstein later in the show too. So it's all relevant. But it's not enough. Okay. I know, he got in January. It's now April. We're past, we're at the 100. We're getting past the 100-day mark. Even if I think we might have passed it, but we're getting there. Trump has gotten a lot done in terms of his executive fiat and immigration and stuff like that. Like, he's doing a good job. The tariffs are iffy. I talked about the tariffs on Wednesday, after talking to Lenore. And, the tariffs are going to be touch and go. We're going to see what happens with those and how he plays the game. But this Epstein client list stuff it's been promised. And if they couldn't do it, they shouldn't have promised it. But it's been promised and it's important. It's real important because it's obvious there's a ton of dirtbags in positions of power in the rich class. And I don't think that surprises anybody. But it's obvious that they're there. Just like Harvey Weinstein. And that whole thing in Hollywood, like, we know Hollywood's a cesspool, but it's like when it comes to light, now we need to crack it open, right? Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in jail because of this, but we can't see the client list. Like, there's something wrong. So I'm not going to stop holding their feet to the fire as much as possible because something needs to get produced because there's no excuse to not have this list out yet. If the excuse is, if it comes out that they arrest a bunch of people and they were building a case, then, it'll be water under the bridge, right? If that comes out and that happens and we are seeing people in Congress getting perp walked down the fucking aisle, I'm here for it. Because there's no doubt in my mind there are current sitting members of Congress that probably had some stuff there, and they might, if they ever hear this, they might get mad. But that's an assumption of mine, just based off of how fucking sleazy they are. But it's bad. Like, that is an incredible low in the Trump presidency so far, especially with the binders making it a disaster. That's an incredible low. So that's something that they need to make sure they get out there because, like I always say, there are still women out there that were victims of everything that went on Epstein Island. The flight logs aren't enough for me. Who flew on a billionaire's jet is not important to me. Who went to the island via the Lolita Express is what's important to me. Who was even witnessing all this stuff and not saying anything is important to me. And if it's someone I like, so be it. They go away. because I don't like them anymore. But this is something that we need to have. Um, Next part of the preamble, and again, we'll talk more about the Epstein stuff in a little bit. Next part, as I always say, we still need to keep in mind those who suffered in Helene and Milton. Um, there's still people in North Carolina and such that are suffering that have not recovered at all, and there's still people on the ground trying to help them. If you can help, go find an agency you trust. Um, Mercury One's a good one. Or if you can look up any local churches, I'm pretty sure those churches are doing things still over there. Go and make sure you can help as much as you can. Nate, what's going on, man? I see you there. I'm happy to have you, brother. We still haven't had any transparency from FEMA, where they had the employee claiming that they were instructed to overlook Trump houses during the disaster that was Helena Milton. That's not acceptable. Now, I know Congress is on vacation, and I know a lot of people, we want them there to get the Trump agenda passed. I prefer that Congress stays away. Most of the time, I don't like when they're around. They make laws and um, they put more rules against us and blockades on our freedom. But they need to go and they need to figure out what happened there, and heads need to roll. Maybe they already have. Maybe some of the people they've already gotten rid of were the people, but that should be criminal that they were not doing their part. Um, Nate coming in saying sorry for Wednesday. Dallas Stars hot. Listen, Nate, you never have to apologize. I know you're a big Stars fan. I'm just always happy when you're hanging out. And if it happens that hockey's on at the same time as us, I am not going to disparage you for watching the Stars. Never, especially me, someone who's a massive sports fan. I'm adding a new one to the preamble, and one that I think is important. I am calling out RNC chair and co-chair Michael Watley, Casey Crosby. Where are you guys? We have Andrew Cuomo trying to run for New York City mayor. Now, I get it. The RNC is a national committee. It's for the federal side, but there's no reason why they can't be putting some weight behind a viable candidate in the city. Now, it's on New York City. It's on us in New York to find a viable candidate. I get it. But this is a national battle. What goes on in New York City is not just contained in New York City. Letting Andrew Cuomo be the fucking mayor of New York City is a disaster. And this also goes for, it looks like it, but if Kamala Harris runs in California, the RNC needs to get involved. They need to be able to sit there some way. I don't know the rules about them giving money or anything like that, but they should be able to give help in some sort of way, or at least make noise. There's something that needs to be done in order to stop both of these two. We need to beat Harris again in California. She can't win. It'll be disastrous because now that would be a governor that is completely and totally against everything that Donald Trump wants to do. And also a mayor that will fight him tooth and nail. And not to forget that Cuomo is a mayor. It will be a potential mayor that killed people when he was the governor. He absolutely sentenced people to death by putting COVID patients in nursing homes. So this needs to get done. We need to have somebody from the RNC doing things and making sure that they get their shit together, because we cannot lose those. Those are national level battles. Those are not lower level battles. Those are big things that we need to make sure happens. Okay? Absolutely. All right. And lastly, still no let up after the Trump victory. Obviously, I'm here doing my thing every week. I am still running for political office in my local area. So I'm doing my part. But anyone that listens to this, do your part. Whether it is running for a local seat or getting involved in a campaign. You have no idea how massive it is at the local level if we know that there are people there willing to walk just to go door to door, or willing to do things that, phone bank or little things, whatever it is, or just donating money, or telling people to go vote and go voting themselves. It's massive to do the little things because the local elections are decided by so few votes, but they are the most important elections in your life. To the day to day, what goes on your council, your, whatever it is, whatever you have locally in your area, get involved. If you have, every area has a Republican committee, even if you're more conservative leaning, the only way to save the Republican Party is by the conservatives getting into the Republican Party again and kicking out some of these uniparty people. Get involved. Get involved at whatever level you can. If it's helping out a campaign with some of your time, do it. If it's actually getting into your Republican committee so you can do more, do it. I'll tell you, when I'm in the committee, I learn more about the goings on of my local town than I ever have. Um, go to school, go to town board meetings if you can. Talk to people on the town board if you're going to go there to help them. Certain topics that are important to them, they want people to speak about. It's a lot of value to have individuals speak at those board meetings. They're filmed. We've all seen the classic things, and school board meetings and town board meetings, they are filmed. They're online. Um, you can make a difference by going up there and talking. So there's ways you can get involved, but please do, because we can't let up. The midterms are right around the corner, and it's on Congress to do their job, right? If Congress doesn't do their part, we're going to lose the midterms, and we should, right? Because they're a bunch of dolts. But what goes on internally in your town, in your county, in your state is more important than the federal, because you can create a buffer. Our system was designed so that we can create buffers for ourselves and isolate ourselves as much as possible from laws that are bad and things that are being done wrong. So make sure you get involved there. All right, let's dive into the fun stuff. And this first one's not very fun, but Pope Francis has passed away. He passed away on Easter Monday, which was this past Monday. And, I just want to say, a few things here about the Pope. Now, it is sad that Pope Francis passed. He was a leader of the Catholic Church. And me being a former Catholic and still a Christian, anytime a leader of the church passes away, he deserves his respect. He gave up, did a ton of time. Like, I don't think people realize how much you have to put in terms of sacrifice in order to get the chance to be the Pope. Um, Rising your ranks through the church, from being ordained and getting your holy orders as a priest, to then becoming a bishop, to an archbishop, to a cardinal. Like, there are levels, and I probably missed some there. It's hard work. It is hard work to get in the position to be a cardinal and to be a respected enough cardinal to be able to rise to the level of the papacy, to be a pope. So the respect for the work that Pope Francis did, in order to get there, has to be there. And especially as a Christian, he was the leader of the Catholics, and heavily, Christian. So of course, he's the father, and the father on earth passed away. Now, two things can be true at once, right? We can mourn the Pope and the passing, and we will obviously have a new Pope after, I think it's 9 days of mourning. Then the cardinals will do the conclave, and they will deliberate, and then we will eventually see the white smoke. And who knows what it'll be? But two things can be true as once, y'all. Pope Francis had his good moments, right? He was still, he had his good moments, had his good speeches. But overall, in my eyes, he was not a very good Pope. Okay. He took the Catholic faith and made it much more progressive and leaned on the progressive side. And we've seen these individuals coming into the papacy more and more, and they've always been there, right? We've always had very left-leaning religious individuals. I point to Paulo Freire, who was a religious figure and very influential in what we see going on in schools today, in terms of things that how the schools are run and how they become so much more left. But it's not the first time that we have seen a pope or a people or members of the church lean this way, and he did. And I feel like he was wrong on a lot of things he came down on a lot of things he chose to meddle in and put his nose in. I feel like he was wrong, especially, and it carries weight because the Pope still has major influence politically over what goes on, even though it's a lot of people have I think turned away from Catholicism in a lot of ways. It is still the biggest religion in the world. I think the biggest Christian, easily the biggest Christian sect of the religion, and it's massive. So he garners a ton of respect. Anyone that puts that hat on and takes the title of Pope has a ton of respect in terms of what his opinion is. So I think he came down on the wrong side of a lot of things. Now, again, am I sad about the Pope's passing? Of course I am. I am sad that he passed away. I knew he was sick for a long time. That Sunday before, he just had met with JD Vance, JD Vance's wife, and I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And then the memes actually are pretty funny after that about who else do we want JD Vance to meet with next, which, morbid, but if you can't laugh through morbid moments, then that's why people make jokes during bad moments, or to lighten up the mood and stuff like that. But I mean, again, I don't think we should trample on Pope Francis right now. I think there is time, as history puts him in his place. I think we will be able to look back on a lot of things Pope Francis said and did, and put him in his place in terms of where he belongs in the lines of the popes. And there's time to be critical. Like I said, I didn't agree with a lot of his stances, but I'm not the type of person that wants to shit on somebody immediately after they die, especially somebody who, generally, it's not like he was a mass murderer or a PDF file or anything like that. He was the leader of a very powerful group, massive religion that I disagreed with in a lot of ways. Does not mean I want to see the man pass away. So it's sad for the Catholics. It's a moment of mourning, and if you're a Christian, even if you're not Catholic, we don't recognize the Pope if you're non-Catholic. You don't recognize the Pope as the leader of the church, but you do understand the significance, and you do see the significance of this holy figure passing. So, rest in peace to Pope Francis. Very interested to see who they bring in. I know there's one individual who the conservatives really like. And there are two Americans. Cardinal Dolan, I believe, is in the top listing. I don't think he'll get there. Cardinal Dolan's one, and Cardinal, I forget his name. God, they make fun of him all the time because he's from Newark. He's from Jersey. There's a cardinal from Jersey also. That's, his name is up there, and will probably be one of the people deliberated on. But ultimately, I don't think we'll see an American get it right now. Who knows if we'll ever see an American get it? But yeah, there's some candidates out there, and we'll watch how that goes and see what's up with that. So, all right, where do I want to go to next? We're gonna stick to some politics, and we will jump right back in to the Epstein stuff, because this we have here from NBC News. Virginia Giffrey. I'm gonna say Giffrey. Virginia Giffrey, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent abuse survivors, dies via suicide. Other Epstein victims credited Giffrey with giving them courage to speak out. So let's read a little bit about this here. Virginia Giffrey, one of the most prominent survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse, has died of suicide, her family said Friday. So right here, this is exactly what I talk about in the preamble. Quite literally, she was alive. She was a living person who suffered. And here she is. I'm going to get to Nietzsche's comments real quick. I heard they're expecting pink smoke for trans people. It would have to be like light pink and baby blue. And Nietzsche's saying they should have a Muslim pope. That would be bizarre, to say the least. I mean, we might see the Crusades again if that happens, just in a different way. But let's keep going over here with this piece. Giffrey 41 died in near Gabby, Australia, where she'd been living for several years. Giffrey was one of the earliest and loudest voices calling for criminal charges against Epstein and his enablers. Other Epstein abuse survivors later credited her with giving them the courage to speak out. Also provided critical information to law enforcement that contributed to the investigation into and later conviction of Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as other investigators by U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of New York. There's a comment about her passing from her family there, lost her life to suicide, being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. They talk about her being a fierce warrior against sexual abuse. And they talk about they give you a little background about her, about Epstein. I think things we all know. So it's so this one is a difficult one, right? Because I don't know about you, but when I hear this, my brain automatically goes to Epstein didn't kill himself, right? That's where I go to. I go to Epstein didn't kill himself. And I'm very convinced that Virginia, who has been very loud, very outspoken, and someone who has not given up on getting Epstein behind bars, not Epstein, obviously, but getting Epstein's people that helped him out and people that did things behind bars. Obviously, Epstein's dead. But I in the world we live in, I cannot believe that. I would love to see um the autopsy, and I'd love to find out how she committed suicide. It didn't say there. I would like to find out how, because we often hear in these situations, well, she shot herself in the back of her head twice, and we're expected to believe that. So there's a lot to this. I certainly don't think, um, putting my tinfoil hat here, I don't think Virginia Guffey passed away on her own. I think there's a lot of powerful people out there that risk a absolute fuck ton if the Epstein client list comes out. And they know she's one of the people that is pushing for it. She's brave enough to come out there, and like that article said, she is giving a lot of survivors a lot of uh basically, you know, heart to come out and do this. And we always hear all the time that individuals struggle when it comes to sexual abuse because they don't think anyone's going to listen to them. And they struggle with whether or not it was their fault and things like that. And there's a lot that goes into that. So for a person that suffers from this to come out and to be as open as Virginia was, she knew it was dangerous. And it's, we'll see. We'll see what comes of this. Got a comment from Nick Swin here. Nick, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Well, more is going to come out because Epstein neglected a lot of people. We hope so, right, Nick? We hope so. Nick also says, I'd sue the Epstein family for negligence. I mean, yeah. Yeah. And I, I'd imagine that's something that has been looked into by the lawyers to see if it'll be something that would stick. Who knows in that situation if it would stick, but it's tough. And again, I'm pretty sure that Virginia knew she had a target on her back and she was doing what she did bravely, um, in order to try and get more of these victims to pop up. And I don't even think we know the number of actual victims from Epstein Island. Are they in the tens? Are they in the hundreds? Are they in the thousands? We don't know. We don't know the exact extent because it's so absolutely shady. Um, I really think a lot of it is going to take, if there is someone out there that committed heinous things on Epstein Island and witnessed some shit, to come out and be brave enough to be like, hey, I did it. I'm going to give up a fuck ton of information. And, as much as I would hate to give somebody like that a plea deal or any sort of leniency, because I think wood chipper is the only place for people who did that to a bunch of young underage girls. It would also be something I may potentially be able to entertain if it takes everybody down. If there's someone brave enough out there to come out and say, hey, for immunity, I will tear it all the fuck down, I would possibly sign up for that. Because, it's one of those things where, yes, one dirtbag may get to walk away, but if we could take down the rest of them, this is kind of like the mob, right? You have a murderer coming up to the police saying, hey, I'll give names, and we know that that person has blood on their hands. But if they're going to take down the people on top that are ordering the killings, then it becomes kind of a thing that's worth it in the end, right? You cut the head off the snake. You don't just take out an individual fang and hope that they don't bite anymore, right? So it's like, I think that may be the only way that we are forced to see the Epstein client list. Because it doesn't seem like, again, I'm going back to Pam, I'm going back to Cash, I'm going back to Dan Bongino. Doesn't seem like they're in a rush to get this out. And it's going to be used, y'all. It's going to be used in the midterms. It's going to be used against people that have supported Trump this whole time. That they have something, they can't keep their promises, and they'll throw the Epstein client list up there, and then the leftists will make it seem like they are the most holiest people ever, that, oh, we should see this list, and the Republicans are hiding it. You watch, all if it's not produced well before the midterms, that is going to be an attack point of theirs, that they're hiding something, that there's a reason why the list hasn't come out. Have we seen, Donald Trump's name was on the fight list? Like, that is going to become a talking point of elections, especially for any of the people in the Congress or Senate that were strong supporters of his. That is going to come out there. It's going to be an attack vector, and it'll be an effective one, because for people that already believe that Trump isn't a good guy, and if the economy is not turned around, if the tariff situation, if the trade war has not gotten any better, and people are already looking negatively, it's enough to destroy that midterm. So this is something that needs to come to light, because can't let Virginia die in vain. She did a lot. She obviously did a lot for people that wanted to come out as well, and um, was big in putting Ghislaine Maxwell behind bars. But there needs to be more. We need to get more of a push out there to get these people out of there. So, moving on to the next thing, the greatest defense of all time. Want to get to this comment? That shows that evil doesn't exist in this world. Diddy, Epstein, and Aaron Hernandez are sickening people, including Trump, who is a felon, rapist, and sexist. I mean, here's the thing, Nick. With the felon part, if you really look into that, it was a misdemeanor that they raised to a felony that was past the statute of limitations. So that was a political thing. The rapist part, if you believe a story that what was it? Jane Carroll, whatever the fuck her name is, couldn't even remember the details herself. I mean, okay. And I mean, sexist, I don't know if you can prove that at all, considering that he has plenty of women that have worked for him forever and in the White House and things like that. And it doesn't seem like he is holding down any women or stuff like that. And I don't know if you were being facetious about Trump there, but yeah, there's a lot of sickening shit in shit in this world, Nick. There really is. Nate G coming in and saying, did you see the Pierce debate on Epstein being a Mossad agent? I saw bits and pieces of it, and I know that's been floated around, and it seems like it seems like the case that he was working in some sort of ways for some intelligence, whether it was Mossad or even like the CIA or anything like that. There is seem to have legs to that, and that could be a reason why this is getting slow walked, very much so, right? But again, not good enough for me. Even if he was not good enough for me. Nate is saying she stole that story from Law and Order. Yeah, there's a whole Law and Order episode that's exactly that. And a lot of things don't fit with her story. I mean, he owned the building, right next to it. So it's like to bring her in there in a crowded area, basically, and she's claiming that the floor was cleared and no one would see him bring her in there. Like all this stuff. Her story has so many holes in it. It's not a plausible story, to be quite honest. It really isn't. So yeah, no. It's that the thing is, her story has the most holes in it. It really does. And you have plenty of other women that he slept with that never claimed that. So, we will. I guess. Eh. All right. So we're going to go back to this story right here, because we're going to talk about Diddy, because apparently Diddy has a perfectly good alibi for why he had a whole bunch of baby oil and freak offs here. So Diddy lawyers argue swinger lifestyle, not a crime ahead of trial. So let's read this. Lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs appear to have offered a preview of his legal defense in his sex trafficking case, arguing that the rapper led a lifestyle of a swinger and was not a criminal. Now, do swingers take people against their will? And I think, the best thing to argue here is, were these people that were involved in these freak offs and these sexual acts coerced by the fact that, were they coerced by the fact that he had power and that there's people there with power? I mean, ugh. So Nate, you coming in saying fat thumbing big time here. Most famous New York celebrity assaults, Skeletor and Bergdorf, and nobody is around. Yeah, no. I mean, listen, it's something where, and she had so many bizarre things. She talked about having like a rape fantasy and stuff like that. She was a fucking crazy person, everyone. And This was also at the time of a bunch of political persecutions of Trump. I think, and even his opponents could see that 99% of lawfare was bullshit, and they're carrying it on. All these rogue judges making these injunctions that hold no weight are carrying it on. Trump and the administration need to ignore these injunctions, keep doing what they're doing, and just tell the courts, get it to the Supreme Court, and we'll see what happens. Get it to, like, here's the thing, if it's that important, get it to the Supreme Court. There should be no injunction that should halt his orders on immigration or what he has to do in the military. He's the commander in chief, and it's his job for national security. The Trump administration should ignore all of these injunctions by lower appellate courts. And then if the Supreme Court comes down and, says something, then he has to make a decision, right? If it sides with those appellate courts, then he has to make a decision. Let's see. Says, interesting. Of course, his lawyers are trying to clear his name, but it's too late. Agreed. Diddy is fucked. And he should be fucked over. So let's keep reading over here. At a hearing in New York on Friday, a little more than a week before his trial, his attorneys told the court that the rap mogul thought it was appropriate to have multiple sex partners, including sex workers, because it is common. Federal prosecutors also revealed to the court on Friday that they'd offer Mr. Combs a plea deal, which he rejected. So they offered him one and he rejected it. The trial of Mr. Combs, one of the most successful rappers and music moguls in the U.S., is due to begin with the jury selection in May 5th. So that's going to be tough, especially with the jury selection, because who hasn't heard of, P. Diddy, honestly. I think calling him one of the most successful rappers is a stretch here from the BBC. I think that he rode the coattails of Biggie Smalls very much so. And he did successful bringing the Bad Boy label up later on and being a successful music mogul. I'll give that to him. I don't know if he rises to the level of great rapper. I mean, I've listened to some songs he's on, but it's mostly for Biggie and then Mace and Bad Boy for Life. I don't really, maybe his best one was his tribute to Biggie when he sampled Every Breath You Take by Sting. And I mean, that's kind of it. I don't know. Nate, you coming in saying Actual Justice Warrior did a piece on the statute of limitations on the specific law that got Trump on. They got Trump on with the E-Gene. It is now biting New York Dems. And the thing is, they changed that law too while they were there. They extended the statute for that specifically. But so let's get back to Diddy over here. The charges against him include racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. If convicted, he could face life in prison. Also, let's not get away with the fact that there was a video that came out probably when he was like going down and stuff like that of him absolutely beating the shit out of his then girlfriend. God, what was her name? She was a singer. And she came out and said that he would like force her to have sex with other guys in front of him and stuff like that. But there's a video of him like dragging her by her hair when she was trying to go in an elevator and fucking kicking her and beating her. Like, the guy obviously is just a shitty dude. Here's a quote from the lawyer. There's a lifestyle, call it swingers or whatever you will, that he thought it was appropriate because it was common. Mr. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, argued at the Manhattan courthouse on Friday. U.S. media reported. Many people think it's appropriate because it's common, he added. Now, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know how many people, maybe in the Hollywood circles, it's appropriate to have giant orgies and things like that. And just fuck everything. And, that's why Hollywood is Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Like, it basically is a place of Sodom and Gomorrah. But to say that it's common is a weird phrase, because I think the common person is going to sit there and think and be like, swingers aren't that common, y'all. We do know swingers exist. We probably know someone who's a swinger that maybe we didn't know was. But it's not a common thing to have giant sex parties. That is not something that is just like, hey, let's just go. You want to go to the random sex party down the hall? Let's do it. Like, that's not a normal thing. So it's a weird defense to call it common. Let's see. During the hearing, Mr. Combs, 55, was seen solemnly listening to proceedings and whispering and passing notes to his lawyers. He smiled at one of his sons who was present in the wood-paneled courtroom. It also emerged on Friday that Mr. Combs had rejected a pre-deal with prosecutors. The terms of the deal were not shared with reporters. Judge Aaron Subramanian ruled that the team is entitled to cite his lifestyle in their defense arguments, but that they cannot cite other examples of prominent swingers or anyone who's alleged to have hired sex workers. Judge also ruled that prosecutors are allowed to show at the trial the video of Mr. Combs physically attacking his former partner. There we go. Singer Cassie Ventura at a hotel in 2016. So that's also on that. When he attacked Cassie and beat the shit out of her. It's wild. Nick with the comment right here. It's a shame because the 28 years that I lived on this earth before all this, I respected Diddy as a hip hop mogul, an entrepreneur, but I guess you don't see the true colors until they come out. Yeah, and honestly, one of the things that I loved when he was in Get Him to the Greek, which is a fucking wildly funny movie. It is supposed to be a basically a sequel in a way to what was that? God, the one with Russell Brand. Why am I blanking on it right now? It's one of my favorite fucking movies. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It was supposed to be like a sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where they brought back Jonah Hill's character, and now he works for Diddy in a studio, and he has to go to talk to Russell Brand as a singer and get him to go because he's like a fucking a bender and stuff. It was actually a solid comedy. I thought Diddy was really actually good in the comedy. And yeah, Nick, I'm right there with you. I was a fan of a lot of things Bad Boy did, and I just thought Diddy was like a good businessman. But yeah, no, you really don't know people until these types of things come out. But yeah, the Cassie stuff is what I was talking about here. And we'll continue here. Mr. Combs' lawyers do not deny that he is the one seen kicking and dragging Miss Ventura through the hallway, but argue that the video is deceptive. They argue that the footage, which was broadcast by CNN last year, was sped up and presented out of sequence. They had sought to have the tape blocked from being admitted as evidence. Two witnesses are poised to testify about the video's authenticity, according to the prosecutors. Here's the thing. What the fuck can they show that would justify him kicking her and dragging her by her hair and throwing her around? Because the video of Ray Rice knocking his chick out, they're married now, obviously, him and his wife now, but she was hitting him, spit on him before he hit her. And Ray Rice got kicked, basically blackballed from the NFL for that. And rightfully so. No one should be hitting each other. I don't think she should be hitting him, spitting on him. And he certainly, being a big, strong football player, should not fucking hook his now wife. But he paid for that mightily, in so many ways. And he's made up for it and over and over and over continues to try and make up for it by, supporting, domestic abuse and things like that, like people, the victims of it, and trying to really educate about it. And, him and his wife are there. But to argue with that's out of sequence and get the fuck out of here. And I get it. Lawyers have to do what they got to do, but it's a very, very shitty argument. Prosecutors asked the judge to allow testimony from one alleged victim who plans to describe a medical procedure that she underwent in connection with the sex trafficking allegations. The judge did not immediately rule on the motion. Prosecutors did not present more details about the alleged medical procedure. They are also seeking permission to show the jury footage of a sexual encounter involving Mr. Combs. They said that the video should not be shown to the public because it is extremely sensitive. Mr. Combs is accused on a racketeering and sex trafficking scheme where he allegedly hosted elaborate, quote, freak-offs, unquote, in which his victims were coerced into sexual performances. His lawyers argue that the experiences were consensual. His trial was expected to last up to 10 weeks and will take place in New York City. It is expected to be open to the public, but not live streamed, which sucks. I wish this could be live streamed because, LawTube made its way prominently and became a big thing during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and it was really good there. Lots of good people on YouTube that are lawyers that give you good perspectives. We had Andrew Bronca on here, law self-defense, but there's a lot of good ones. He's one of them out there that gives great perspectives, especially in the self-defense realm. But this should be out there. We should have it live streamed. Now, I know there's different things. It'll be open to public. So if you want to go, if you're in the city or interested, if you want to go over and sit there and listen to it, you're more than welcome to. And that would be pretty dope. But sucks that's not getting live streamed. So we could hear so much of the shit going on, because I think that's one of the things too, that sometimes help cases in a sense. When it's behind closed doors, we get only the snippets that the media, and I'm not going to be like the media, but the only snippets that the media wants people to hear. And that sometimes can be damning because they all have agendas. Every single one of them has agendas. So there's that. And as we talk more and more about the Diddy stuff, we know when more comes out, when the trial starts and things like that, we'll definitely, when things come up, we'll talk about it. But the last thing politically that I kind of want to jump on is, so I found out through talking to my children that they are not teaching the proper colors of the rainbow. Now, what do I mean here? Because a rainbow is pretty standard, right? When I grew up, I learned an acronym called ROIGBIV. Nick saying, or this could be Diddy trying to hide more alleged abuse. It could be Diddy. Yeah, absolutely. It could be that. Not 100%. So back to the rainbow. When I learned it, I don't know about you guys, I learned something called ROIGBIV. And that was for us to remember that the colors of the rainbow were red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, indigo, violet. The 7 colors of the rainbow. All right. That's what we learned. Because the rainbow is the one you see outside, and it's the one that was biblically described for the Ark of the Covenant. So for those that don't know what I mean, here is what a rainbow typically should look like as it's described. Like I said here, do you see the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple? Okay, or blue, indigo, violet. That's Roijibiv right there. That is the covenant, the one that we were typically taught, Roijibiv. So the way I found this out is my daughter, we were talking, I think it was pouring on Saturday. So we were talking about potential rainbow, and she sang a jingle. And it was something like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. These are the colors. And I stopped. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? And she's like, those are the colors of the rainbow. And I'm like, no. What happened to Roy Bev? And me and my wife were kind of like, yeah, that's what we learned. And, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's what we learned. And I started thinking, and I'm like, wait a fucking minute. They're not teaching the biblical rainbow. They are teaching the gay pride flag rainbow. And they are casually teaching it as a normal thing. Now, what do I mean, y'all? Here we go. This is the gay pride flag. It only has 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. It only has these 6 colors. That is the gay pride version of the rainbow. And this is something that a lot of people will talk about as minor, as something that is small, something we shouldn't care about. But this is important because I've argued here Christians should take back the rainbow. The rainbow should not represent gay people. The rainbow should still be remembered as the Ark of the Covenant. It should still be remembered as when God made a covenant with Moses, and with not with Moses, but with Noah, to never destroy the world again via water. He made that covenant. That is the sign of the covenant with Noah. And it's a minor thing in a lot of ways, yes, but it's an important thing because this is that subtle influence that happens in schools. And with the way we've seen with schools going, I mentioned Paulo Freire a little while ago with the generative themes and things like that. This is something that people will call as minor, but it is an important thing because now kids are going to grow up seeing that this is the rainbow, that the gay pride flag is the natural rainbow. And this is how shit gets phased out of existence. That when Christians come and say, no, the rainbow is this, they're going to be laughed off as a bunch of fucking kooks. You're a bunch of Christian kooks. That's not what the rainbow is. I was taught in school that this was the rainbow. That must be something different. That must be a religious rainbow. And it's no, it is not. The rainbow is exactly what we fucking say it is. It is, the proper one is here. This is the proper rainbow. 7 colors. So while this may seem like, we're nitpicking and it's shit like that, these are important battles to fight because if you don't fight these small battles in your schools now, then that's when they do more and more and more and more. And something as small as this is a massive thing. Because also, who's to stop them from them bringing in their fucking gay pride flags and using as an example? Oh, here, look, this is the rainbow, guys. Let's sing the song, blah, blah, blah. And then they get used to the flag. And it's a small battle, but a battle worth fighting to change this type of shit up because it's important. And not just for the religious purposes, because again, not everyone's a Christian, but it's more of a purpose of not getting them used to, well, that's the rainbow. That's the proper thing. And that flag is the proper thing. It's like, no, the, gay activists intentionally chose to use the rainbow and make it slightly different for a reason. It was a mock of the heavy Christians and everyone that said, homosexuality is a sin and things like that. It was to mock them. That is what the purpose was, because they knew the religiosity and the symbol of the rainbow to Christians. So again, it's a battle that they started, y'all. This is a battle started by those activists that, we should not just seed ground everywhere. Nick Swink going, I knew you were going somewhere in that direction. And also says, well, for God's sake, we see it in the whole month of June. We do, and we see it all the time, y'all. Like they're trying to do more and more and more and more and more. And it's one of those things where, as I start seeing it around in June, I'm just gonna start complimenting people on, the covenant. Even if it is the wrong flag, I'm be like, yo, thank you for, showing Christianity some love. And if that becomes a thing, and that's one thing too. I think what we've seen is the power of the internet to make certain things stick. And if that becomes a thing, if during June, if we just start thanking them for respecting the covenant and flying the covenant around, and even though it's a color off and you're doing it a little wrong, you know what? Thank you for, the covenant, and reminding people that God loves us and will never destroy us by water again. Like, continue to do that. Put them on the back foot. Make them explain why the flag has only 6 colors and not the proper 7 for the rainbow. Make them explain it. Most of them don't know why. Most of them don't know that's an activist thing. Most of them don't know that it was a mockery. And the ones that do, let them say, hey, we're mocking it. Good. Be out in the open about it. But honestly, thank them. Thank them. Be like, yo, thanks. That's dope. Respecting the Ark of the Covenant. Love it. Appreciate that. God's dope, right? And I think that's one of the best ways to combat stuff like this. It's frustrating to have to sit there and, this is going to be something that I bring up in the schools, and people are going to look at me like I'm fucking crazy. And it's going to be like, okay, and they're going to say it's not that big of a deal. Okay, if it's not that big of a deal, and teach them the right way again. Right? Like, if it's not that big of a deal, if they don't, if they won't agree with me that, it's not the right colors. It's just, no, there's a way to things. So if it's not that big of a deal, change it back. So, because, if they're the ones that are going to say that. So we'll see where that goes. That's going to be fun to go battle there. That's going to be a good time. So let's switch gears here. Let's enter into sports. We only have a minor thing for sports right here. Let's see. But so Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, was meant to be, just get a pink flag and call it a day. But so a lot of hype was talked about Shedeur going in as maybe a top 5 pick, a top 3 pick. Better, is he better than Cam Ward? Is he not? And it ended up the NFL draft. Cam Ward went number 1 to the Titans, and Shedeur Sanders' name wasn't called in the first night. Okay, maybe he's a second or third rounder. Me personally, I had him thinking, I'm saying, hey, so he's probably a third rounder. I didn't think that Shedeur. I think he can be a good quarterback. I think he has all the physical skills. He was running for his life a lot at Colorado. I give him that. I do think he has the physical skills. I think he has the arm talent. He's obviously an athlete. He can run around. But I think he may. For me personally, I feel like Shedeur Sanders sitting a year behind a pretty good, a good quarterback that can teach him and show him things, and then taking the reins. Like, if he got into a situation where he could sit behind a good journeyman, learn the game, come in, I think Shedeur could be a pretty good quarterback. Do I think he can ever be like a top 5, top 10? Who knows? But I think Shedeur could be a pretty good quarterback. I don't think he's a plug and play guy, like some people think. But it seems like a lot of NFL teams didn't think that either. Because night 2 came, we watched a second round go. Okay, no Shedeur. Surprise, right? Teams like Vegas and the Browns and the Saints, the Jets, the Giants, the quarterback needy teams passed and passed. Round 3 comes along, and that's where I'm like, okay, I thought Shedeur, was probably going to go round 3. I watched Vegas, no, don't take him. Steelers, don't take him. My Jets, don't take him. Giants, still don't take him. Like, just watching it, I'm like, whoa. So night 2 ends. Night 2 ends. And now it's Shedeur going to go undrafted. And just to be clear, being undrafted isn't a death sentence. We see a lot of really good, impactful undrafted players, and there's always those diamonds that come out. So I don't think it would have been the worst for Shedeur to go undrafted if he did. Now, mind you, he didn't. But I don't think it would have been the worst thing. he would have been a very different undrafted player. He would have had and he's going to be a very different low round player. He's going to have a much longer leash than most because his last name is Sanders. I think that's just a realistic thing. But the fourth round passes, and then finally in the fifth round, the 144th pick, Shedeur Sanders gets picked up by the Browns, who we all thought was going to be out of it because earlier they had drafted, I think his name is Dylan Gabriel, and from Louisville, and he's a okay quarterback. Louisville, not amazing. He's a college. He's a project, but they already drafted him. So I don't think anyone expected the Browns to come back and then grab Shedeur. The Browns now have 5 quarterbacks in their QB room. I don't even know. I don't even remember who it all. It's Flacco, Watson, Gabriel. I don't know who the 5th guy is, and Sanders. It's interesting to see what's going to go on there. I don't know who's going to get cut. You're not carrying 5. It'll be wild if they cut Shedeur. It really would be crazy. But it was a bizarre night. Now let's get to some comments here. Shedeur shouldn't have cried at Nebraska, or shouldn't at the Colorado shouldn't have spit in the Colorado State QB's face. Who knows? Oh, shoved it in the QB's face. Okay. And you said I think I'd rather have Kyle McCord. I wouldn't rather have Kyle McCord. Again, like I said, I think Shedeur is a talented kid. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a bad quarterback. I'm not one of those people. It's like Shedeur is bad. Like apparently he had some terrible interviews. That was some stuff that went around that he was, cocky, entitled. They've let out that the Giants had a terrible interview with him, that they wanted to give him a scheme thing, and he was incredibly unprepared, and that turned Brian Dable off, even though they did, everything was pointing to the Giants wanting to grab Shedeur for a long time. It was Giants or Steelers. That was really what we were seeing. And so apparently Brian Dable was very turned off on them, and they went to go with Jackson Dart instead, which a lot of people were like iffy on Jackson Dart. You'll be yet to be seen what they could do with him. He's going to be sitting probably behind Wilson and Russell this year. Winston and Wilson, and that's probably best for him. But we'll see. So Nick saying, to me, I think he was blackballed based on his personality, in which, yes, he's competitive, but I think teams are scared of his father. I think there's a combination of that too. But here's the thing, Nick. I get it. If you're a competitive dude, Johnny Manziel was competitive, but the QB over in Tampa Bay now, who I like a lot. I can't think of his name, but he was competitive, cocky, right? They were both seen as cocky dudes. It'll come to me. Someone, Nick or Nate, the quarterback of Tampa Bay, is doing really well right now. He was the Browns quarterback for, I can't remember his name. But they were also cocky. I think where it went wrong for him, Nick, and, Manziel got the benefit of the doubt with this. We saw this with Manziel. But what I think went wrong is it seems like he was a bad interview with a lot of GMs. And the thing is, too, it's like, if you want to give bad interviews to some, but be good for the ones you want to get drafted by, like that's kind of a strategy sometimes. Like, I don't want to get drafted by this team, so I'm not going to give them a great interview. I really want to get drafted by this team. I'm going to be fucking buttoned up and ready to go. It doesn't seem like Shedeur had that. From what we've seen, it seems like he was just not a good interview. Thought he was, was God's gift. So Baker Mayfield, there you go. Baker Mayfield. Thank you, Nate. So I think part of that had to do with him. But I do think his father is a big factor too. I think Dion being as involved as he is a big factor. I think it was a big, I think it might have been a screw you, because again, you just retired the kid's number. He didn't do shit at Colorado, really. Yes, he made them prevalent, but so did Travis Hunter. So did Joey Horn Jr. or Joey Horn III. There's guys there that played well on that offense as well. And that's another thing with Shedeur that I want to see. He had 3 number 1 wide receivers around him. Those 3 guys could be number 1s anywhere. Travis Hunter, Horn, I forget the other kid's name. He's really talented too. So I want to see what happens when he has guys that aren't as good, right? Because he had pot luck there. He could throw the ball up in the air and they were going to come down with it. Again, I'm not knocking Shedeur's talent. I think he's a talented kid. But I want to see what he does when he doesn't have, those 3 studs that are really helping him out. Nick saying, but if it was Johnny Manziel, it would have been swept under the rug in a heartbeat. Johnny was also much more successful than Shedeur. I think we also need to remember that. There is that factor as well. Johnny Manziel was a much more successful college player than Shedeur. Shedeur did great things, but he had a losing record. Again, Colorado's not a good team, but he had a losing record, and he, lost his only bowl game convincingly. So there's that we need to factor in. Like, yeah, we can compare the Johnny Manziel thing. Johnny Manziel was a dickhead, but Johnny Manziel was, the only team to beat Alabama in their run when they were Alabama, and he had much more success in college. So yes, there's that. Don't get me wrong. And listen, Cam Newton was a cocky dick too. Okay, you have these guys that they do have that. And Johnny Manziel was a terrible interview. Apparently, he was unprepared and shit like that. Like, don't get me wrong, he had his knocks, but I think they saw not just the production, but the success in college, and it changed things. And it's like to no fault of Shedeur's, right? Like in reality, like he went from Jackson State to Colorado because his dad went over there. Um, and his dad, they chose Colorado, and they chose Colorado for a reason, right? I think they want to have their glory of bringing him back up and making him look good, and they thought a good place. But there's also the knock there. Um, so Nick saying Shedeur was 13-12 at Colorado and 1-8 against top 25. And again, that's a product of them having no defense too. So it's like, I'm not going to fully knock Shedeur on those numbers because Colorado's defense is probably the worst defense in high school football. Like, they're not good. Deion's biggest knock is that his defense is sucked. Okay. He did good. He had a better offensive line in year 2. We'll see what Deion does this year, Coach Sanders, if he gets better recruits, better transfers. But his defense was bad both years, and that doesn't help. Does not help, Shedeur's case. His numbers look bad, and I don't knock him completely. That's not a good Colorado football team, y'all. It really still isn't a good team. Nate saying they retired his number. Colorado is so unserious. I agree. They shouldn't have retired his number. Travis Hunter, maybe he's a Heisman, but how many Heisman winners don't have their numbers retired? Cordell Stewart's number isn't retired over there in Colorado, which is wild. Nate also coming in saying Johnny Football could run very fast and chucked it up to Mike Evans anytime he couldn't make a read, and Mike bailed him out. He did, but there was other players there too. Okay, listen, Johnny Manziel, I watched him play. Johnny was a good player. Was he the best player? Was he overhyped? Yes. And Mike Evans and him did have a great connection. Don't get me wrong. But Johnny also made a lot of really good plays. A lot of good plays on his own in big games in the SEC when the SEC West was still fucking rampaging. Okay. So it's like, again, different. There's differences there between Johnny and Shedeur. There really is. If Johnny was on Rutgers, okay? Take my favorite school. If he was on Rutgers and was really good for Rutgers, but they didn't produce what they should, he lost his game, Johnny Manziel would have slipped to the 6th round, okay? It was because of what he did in an SEC environment against really good SEC teams at the time, especially with Bama, LSU, shit like that, okay? So there are differences between the two comparisons. Nate saying he had 0 run game in 2 years, to be fair to Shedeur. Oh, listen, Shedeur had a lot stacked against him, which is why I'm not knocking his talent. I think Shedeur can be a good pro. I think he can be a good pro. He had a lot against him, but that's why I also think the situation of him sitting, people were saying he's a day one plug and play starter. I don't think he's a day one plug and play starter because I think there's a lot of learning curve there. I think he did run for his life a lot. He had no run game. He had 3 great wide receivers that helped him, but he also made he has legitimate arm talent. To knock Shedeur for his arm talent. Shedeur has arm talent. He could throw the ball a million miles, has good zip on it. Like, the kid's talented, okay? But I think he needs a year. And I think that his interviews didn't help him. I think his father gassing him up didn't help him. And I do think teams shied away because the bottom line is there is, and I think this is a factor. And I think this is, a big thing is if you would have drafted Shedeur Sanders in the first 2 rounds, maybe even the 3rd, the pressure to start him immediately is there. The pressure to start him immediately would be there, regardless of what was in front of him or what was going on. And I don't think teams were willing to sit there and take that because there would be national pressure immediately to start Shedeur Sanders, ready or not. And I think that was a big factor in why he fell as well, because there was a lot of teams saying that he was not ready, that he was not pro ready, that he could be, but he was not pro ready right away. So I think that's a big factor. I think taking him in the 5th round, okay, you acknowledge that you believe he's a project, and now the pressure will not mount as high. Now it's the Browns. They're going to want anyone to play quarterback. So who knows? But we'll see. And Nate saying Johnny got killed every time he ran into a man's defense outside of one time against Bama. LSU ate Johnny's lunch. Agreed. Listen, I agree. He did get, he got exposed in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong. But he got his team to bowl games every year. He won a lot of games and he won it in the SEC, not the, wherever it was, Colorado and Pac 12. And then he Johnny Manziel had a better career collegiately than Shedeur Sanders. I don't think that's arguable. Now factors play in because Nick coming in, Nick's went also coming in saying no O-line either. Agreed. His first year his O-line was awful. Second year they did get better. He there was some good transfers that came over, but still not good. Still not a good O-line. And Nate's saying it's 80% of character. See, I don't just watching Shadeur's press conferences. I don't necessarily think he's a bad kid. I think he's eaten up a lot of hype that's been given to him online and even from his dad. And I do think that he looked at his play this year and was like, I was the player of the year in my conference and I set records and I threw the ball I threw fucking 4,000 yards. Like I think he's looking at it going, man, I had a great season against all odds. I brought this Colorado team to a friggin' bowl game, even though we lost, but I helped bring him there. I helped Travis Hunter get a Heisman. Like, I think he's looking at all these things going and believing it a little bit. And I think reality hit a little. So I don't, and again, I don't think Shedeur is a bad kid. You want to know why? Because I don't think Dion's a bad father. I've seen him in the way he speaks about his kids and things like that, and the way he speaks about Shiloh and Shedeur. And I don't think Dion is a father that is going to sit there about, telling him and trying to gas him up too much while not trying to bring him into reality. You know what I mean? So this is a weird one, y'all. I think this is a factor of he was hyped up so much and then reality hit on draft day and it's hard for people to take, right? That maybe this guy that everyone thought was so pro ready isn't as ready as they think he is. When people watch film on him, when these people that do this is their job to watch film. When they watch film, when they interview, when they do all these things, they notice things that are taking him out of the grade that maybe people have for him. Nick saying, but Eli can cry about not wanting to play for my Chargers. Get his dad to publicly help him, but still get drafted first overall. Eli was a much, much, much better player at Ole Miss. And Eli was the undoubted number one pick. There's a difference here, y'all. Because here's the thing. Even if Cam Ward came out and was like, I don't want to play for the Titans, he probably would have had some flexibility there. Because Cam Ward was, towards the end of this draft process, was put head and shoulders above Shedeur by mostly everybody in terms of pro readiness and things like that. Eli was the undisputed number one pick. There are differences here. Okay. There are differences. Eli played again at an SEC school at Ole Miss, played really well. There are factors. There are very big factors that are major differences. Here's the thing. If Shedeur Sanders went to Vanderbilt, okay, or went to Vandy, who is decent, SEC school had a better season this year, typically bottom dwellers, right? And sat there and took Vandy as an SEC school and just started lighting up the SEC. Even the bad SEC teams are SEC teams, right? Lighting up the SEC and, maybe got smacked around a little by your Bamas and by your, Florida, like whatever, because of some discrepancies there, but really balled the fuck out. We'd be talking a different story. Huge different story here. Even if he went to a Big Ten school, right? Say he goes to Nebraska and makes Nebraska for a little bit. Maybe they don't go in. Maybe they don't beat Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, right? But they battle, and he has great numbers all year and this and that. We are talking a different game. We are talking Shedeur Sanders is the undoubtable number one pick. But it's different that he did it at Colorado. That plays a big role, y'all. Plays a big role. Nate G, he walked off in Nebraska 2 minutes before the game was over, threw his Rolex and highbrowed at Colorado State. People don't like that. Yeah, I get that. The walking off in the 2 minutes in Nebraska thing is meh. I don't mind him highbrowing at Colorado State. That's their rivals. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the moxie. I'm not mad at guys with moxie. Um, his legendary room for his draft. Again, listen, I, he feels himself, y'all. He feels himself. Um, his post game at Nebraska, all he said was how little Dylan got hit. I mean, hey, listen. And he said there's all kinds of stuff like that. Travis Hunter dodge making tackles. I mean, listen, you can point to things like that, but a lot of these kids have had their moments, and especially in the social media era we live in, there's going to be more of a spotlight and things like that. I mean, Nick saying, no, I don't think Eli was all that. The 2 Super Bowl wins wasn't Eli. He was good playmaker. He had good playmakers around him, and the defense won those. Agreed, but he did make 2 amazing throws. He made the 2 throws he needed to make, and those Super Bowl years, he was fantastic. Yeah, he had his lows, but here's the thing. I'm not arguing his pro time. I'm arguing his time at Ole Miss as a college player. At Ole Miss, he was really good. He was a really good player over at Ole Miss. And that put him in the position to be drafted where he was as the head and shoulders #1 pick. You could say he had his downs. Yeah, because he led the league, I think, twice in interceptions for the Giants. Those Super Bowl years, he was good, man. Yes, the defenses led the way, 100%. 100%. Defenses, he had good running backs. I'm not going to argue that. But he made plays in those Super Bowl years. And in those 2 Super Bowls, we'll never forget the one throw that he made to, why am I blanking on names tonight? But he made the one big throw. And he made the throw to Manningham, which is one of the nicest throws I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. Nate G coming saying, giving 100 to Nick. Eli was never once a top 5 quarterback in his whole career. No, statistically, no. He wasn't. He wasn't. And that'll be a knock on Eli. But again, we're not talking about Eli Pro. We're talking about Eli College. And at Ole Miss, here, let me go look up Eli's Ole Miss college numbers. Because listen, maybe I will be disproved live on the show. Ole Miss stats. Let's see. Maybe I will be disproved. College stats. There we go. All right. So here we go. He had some really good stats on. You have to remember when he was playing. So let's share this tab instead. And let's get back there so you guys can see. Saying he wasn't undisputed. Philip Rivers was up there with him. Philip Rivers was never in. He was up there as one of the top quarterbacks, but Eli was the head and shoulders #1, y'all. I'm sorry. I remember that. Philip Rivers was there. He was great. They loved him. Everyone had Eli pegged as the #1 pick. I remember there being no question about that. But let's go right here and let's look at his numbers. Some sports reference over here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little over here. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, too big. Go back. Okay. So didn't really play much. 6 games his freshman year. Sophomore year comes in, plays 11 games, has 2,900 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 picks. Great year right there. Okay. His junior year, he has an asterisk, indicates the bowl stats are included. So right there, so bowl stats included here. He had 3,400 yards, 21 touchdowns, 15 picks. And as a senior, he had 3,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, 10 picks. He won the Maxwell Award. Like, guys, he was a 3rd place in Heisman. Eli was a fantastic Ole Miss player. Okay. Yeah, he lost it. Okay. That's fine. Eli was probably the only good Ole Miss player in his time. Nebraska played both Mannings, killed Peyton, and lost to Eli in the trash bowl. He had a really good receiver with him. I remember a few of his years. But you can't argue these numbers, y'all. These numbers were incredible numbers in in that time. And let's look over here. Let's look at Philip Rivers. I'm okay with doing all this stuff in real time, y'all. So Philip Rivers, again, he was at NC State. There is a difference there when they look at these things, okay? But let's look over here. So his freshman year, he started 11 games, 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks. Sophomore year, 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 picks. His junior year brings him to a bowl, 3,300 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. And his senior year, again, brings him to another bowl, finishes 7th in the Heisman. So there's a factor there, y'all. He finished 7th in the Heisman, a great completion percentage, 4,400 yards, 34 touchdowns, 7 picks. Those are great numbers. Those are also great numbers. But again, even them in the Heisman voting thought him playing at NC State in the ACC, probably not even, they probably didn't win the ACC right there. Because I want to see, let's see right here, they're scoring. I wonder what the records were, okay? Because it's like, we have to take all these things into account. And like I said, I remember that draft completely. And he was head and shoulders the number one pick. So I want to get to something real quick because I'm enjoying these conversations, y'all. But sadly enough, this bothered me. Shedeur got a prank phone call. Now, kind of comical that who the prank phone call came from. It came from Jax Ulbrich and one of his friends. Now, the last name Ulbrich may be familiar. This is former defensive coordinator and interim head coach of my New York Football Jets, Jeff Ulbrich's son. So you can imagine where Jax Ulbrich was able to get this iPad that had the phone numbers of people that were in the draft of prospects. So let's give a listen as to what happened, because while it is kind of funny, I don't like this type of shit, but it is kind of funny. So let's hear a little bit. Hard to hear Shedeur because he's on the phone, but you can hear what the pranksters are saying.
Hey, is this Shedeur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, they were waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
It's ain't gonna be nothing there.
Hey, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
What does that mean?
What? What did he say?
I don't know.
How you gonna ask us what it mean and you was on the phone?
You heard that?
You said you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Why
did he call?
What the fuck?
Hey, that's fucked
I
up.
don't know what that was. It's 50-50. But nobody got this number though.
See, it's at this point with these types of things, I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the kid. Nate saying that I saw that they did this to Cooper DeJean last year too. I saw that. I saw it last year. I didn't like it last year. Nick Swin saying this boils me. Yeah, you know what? This is one of the things I think we need to get into perspective. They are still kids. Yes, they're grown men. But what the fuck did you know when you were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22? I ain't know shit. Look back now and I realize I knew less than nothing. In the end, this is still a kid. In the end, he still worked hard. He worked his ass off at Jackson State. The kid went to Jackson State first. He worked hard in Colorado to try, to pretend like this kid didn't work hard to win games, try and get himself in a position to be drafted. It's this type of stuff. I don't like it either. It's for the meme culture. It's kind of funny, I guess, but I wasn't a fan. I felt bad for Shedeur in that moment. I know his detractors were laughing and things like that, but I did feel bad because that is a big moment. Now there were some statements put out by first the Falcons. Let's take a look at what they had to say over here. So the Falcons put out a statement here saying earlier this week, Jax Ulbrich, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders off an open iPad while visiting his parents' home and wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. Jeff Ulbrich was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was made aware of the above only after the fact. The Atlanta Falcons do not condone this behavior and send our sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family, who have been in contact to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jax to the Sanders family. We have also been in contact with the NFL and will continue to cooperate fully with any inquiries we may receive from the NFL League office. We are thoroughly reviewing protocols, but I'll make sure this won't happen again. Now, there's some extra layer to this because I'm going to give some people some trivia. Does anybody know where Deion was drafted? It was the Atlanta Falcons, y'all. That's where Deion started. It's where it all started. He was a Falcon. So it is crazy. And I'm going to check myself on that because I'm pretty sure Deion started off in the Falcons. I know he went to the Niners and then he went to the Cowboys, but I don't want to be saying I was sure until I said it. but I'm pretty sure he was drafted by the Falcons. La la la. This is what you got. This is what the internet's for. This is what the internet's for. Yes, he was drafted by the Falcons. He played there for 4 years. So it's kind of full circle there. That was the Falcons that did it. But this is big because he was actually a big member of the Falcons. He's a really good player for them too. We really he did the Dirty Bird before it was a Dirty Bird. I know he did a dance and shit like that. So there was a lot that went on there, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this happened to Shedeur, and the Falcons did it. Now, I'm pretty sure with threat of death that Jack Solberg put out this statement. No, I'm going to throw up on the screen right here. Saying, this is from Jax on his, it looks like his Instagram. On Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. And he tagged Shedeur Sanders. Now, again, this, to me, I look at this, and this is a different side that I don't think we've seen. So let me get to a few comments right here. Nachi saying, yeah, that was fucked up. I like pranks, but this is dumb. I agreed. It was dumb with Cooper DeJean. It was dumb here. And apparently, the Penn State tight end, where right before the Jets were going to draft him, got a prank phone call as well. And they're looking to see if it was the same phone number that prank phone called Shedeur. So it looks like this could have been done to multiple people this year. There's just no video of the other one. Nick Swing saying, I tell you one thing, the coach's son just probably diminished the chances of his dad getting a coaching job. I mean, he's already the D coordinator of the Falcons. I don't think they're going to fire him over this. And it's fucking crazy that if you're Jeff Ulbrich, you can't trust your 21-year-old son to not go and do something like that to you. Because if I'm Jeff Ulbrich, I'm killing my son. And again, I know I've seen Jeff Ulbrich in action. He was a Jets defensive coordinator for 2 years. He was the interim coach, more than that, 4 years. And he was the interim head coach last year when they fired Robert Saleh. Like, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to take that type of shit. So I think Jack Solberg may end up being dead soon. But yeah, no, it's crazy. Nate saying he was drafted by the Falcons. He was Neon Dion in Atlanta, became prime after. Yes, he was. But yeah, this is, I just want to point out there that he mentioned, let's pull that back up. He mentioned, I want to highlight, thank you for taking my phone call earlier, for accepting my phone call earlier. To me, that shows a little something about Shedeur, right, y'all? Maybe it was a bad interview. Maybe he has his cocky moments. Maybe he can be an asshole on the field. But he was man enough to take the call from Jack Solberg. And I'm pretty sure he knew at this point it was Jax that did it, right? And we don't know what went on in that conversation. Obviously, Jax probably apologized. Shedeur didn't have to take the call. Shedeur didn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? So it does say something that the fact that Shedeur didn't put him on blast before this, didn't say, hey, this dude called me, fuck this dude, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of kept it, we would have never known the phone call took place unless Jack said it. So we'll see. I don't know if Shedeur has commented anything back on any of this. I haven't seen anything to that. So we'll see what comes of this. I wasn't happy about this moment. I don't think any of these, I think this needs to become something that comes out of vogue. That if we can figure something out, like, I don't know if there could be criminal charges for this, right? It's just a prank phone call, but it's like, man, this is fucked up. This is really screwed up. Nick Swint coming in saying it is childish act, Jax, because you are still a child, clearly. Yes, obviously 21-year-old being a child. And also saying if I'm Shedeur, I wouldn't even accept his apology. I couldn't blame Shedeur if he didn't. Couldn't blame Shedeur if he was like, yo, thanks for the call, but kick rocks, right? Like you gassed me up and now I'm on the Browns. but yeah, no, like it's something where, I don't know. And who knows if we'll ever know what actually happened in that conversation. But I do think it does say something about Shedeur that he was willing to accept it. But let's move a little here because I'm taking my sweet old time on Shedeur. But we are going to go to Elder Scrolls Oblivion. The remake has come out. I have not purchased it. I don't know. I might eventually get it because I am an Elder Scrolls fan. I did play Oblivion. I did play the shit out of Skyrim as well. I didn't play Morrowind, which I heard the controls were very janky, but it's fun. Um, Skyrim was my favorite so far. I did love Oblivion though, so it's like here. But I might have to buy the remake. Now I don't have a computer that can run it, so I probably have to get a system and then get it if it comes out that way. I don't know if it's going to come out that way, but it is doing really well, y'all. And it's crazy because they just kind of shadow dropped this. It was a weird, really bizarre thing. It kind of got like leaked that the remake is on its way, and then Bethesda confirmed it. And then all of a sudden they said, hey, it's coming out Monday. And then Monday it happens. And it was really weird. But I do want to show that it is doing incredibly well right now. This is the Steam chart for it. Let me see if I reload it real quick. So it's a little down from what it was because it's getting a little later. But currently has 155,211 players. Its 24-hour peak and its all-time peak is 216,784. It is doing well, y'all. This game is doing well. It's a remake of one of the classics, and apparently it's being remade really, really well. Which makes me happy to see that, because if they were going to remake it, I'm happy that they at least took the time to do it well. I want to see remake side by side. I want to see if I can find some of the side by sides that people are showing, because there is some really cool stuff that they did in terms of updating the character, updating the looks, updating the characters, updating things. Like there's some like views and shit that are just drop dead gorgeous now. It's they did a really good job with a lot of this shit here. Let me see. This is a video. 20-second video from Pirate Nation. Let's see. I haven't even watched this. I haven't vetted it one bit. Oh, it's from IGN. So let's see what we got here. Share this tab instead. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, you guys are seeing everything I'm doing right there. Hooray. Let's see. Because it looked really good. So the original versus remaster here. So as you can see, they did put in a lot of really good work into this. It's great that they did this, and it's something that, I'm getting tired of remakes and revamps and things, but this is something that is cool, considering Oblivion is one of the most beloved part of the Elder Scrolls series, definitely. Because it's a little bit tougher in a lot of ways. Like you can't use your weapon over and over and over and over. You have to refine it. You have to fix it. Unlike in Skyrim, where you just fuck things up. And apparently they included a bunch of the cool mods, the add-ons and things like that. So it looks good. If you're a diehard Oblivion fan, it's something you may grab. I also see people with this. Nate saying, I beat Oblivion and the add-ons, not too interested. I think people are interested to see just how it looks, if it looks better and things like that. And apparently you can get the Skyrim too, which is pretty cool. They actually allow it. Like there's a spot, there's a path, you can see the throat of the world, and then you can get over there somehow, which is pretty cool of them to add that you can go to Skyrim and stuff like that. You see a lot of, it's not as dark as Skyrim, but it definitely has some of its similarities in terms of looks to Skyrim. Skyrim was very dark, very bland, very blah, which I didn't mind because I think it fit the whole entire aesthetic of what was going on. But Oblivion, it looks good. They did a good job with the remake. And I think this kind of says that this is all we want as gamers. If you are going to do a remake, at least make it good. At least give us something that, we can sink our teeth into and that we can enjoy, because like there are so many remakes that definitely seem like a half-ass bullshit and they're just trying to make money off of it. And it's like, we don't want that. We didn't want any of that. So I'm happy that the remake is so far good. And that people are enjoying it. Now, like I said, I might go grab it just because I did like the old one and I'd want to see what they did with it. And from everything else that I've seen, that they've done a good job. Like I said, they put all the add-ons in. The mods are allowed to, they're allowing mods, obviously. You can get the Skyrim. There's some cool stuff like so. And I'm interested to see if they make any more DLC, if they add something that we didn't have that's new and original. It'd be pretty fucking fun. So there is a lot to do. Nate's saying the Shigrath add-on was so fun. I never knew how to say that name. Shigrath. Was, yeah. And there's the thing. There's a lot of good stuff there. And I feel like this is a cool chance for people to relive it, right? A cool chance for people to relive it and kind of make it fresh. And if you can bring your, if you have a teenage son or something like that, or, even a daughter that plays and maybe they like some of this stuff, now you could sit down and play that with them. I think that'd be something cool that they would really enjoy. It's fun. And when it comes to remakes and stuff like that, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with them adding this and making it something new here. So, all right. Oh, what'd I do? There we go. So now I want to talk about the Switch and the disaster that was basically the pre-sale night, that midnight Switch. And I think everybody's favorite lolcow, DSP, sums this up perfectly. And Nate G saying, no new add-ons, please just give us Elder Scrolls 6. Nate, do you really trust Bethesda? Do you really trust Bethesda to give us a good full game? I don't. I do not trust them to give us a good full game. They are going to give us a whole bunch of bullshit. So I don't want them to ruin the series. But so we have Yellow Flash over here, who, shout out to Yellow Flash. His the Yellow Patriot comic is just the pre-orders are there for the Rippaverse. Make sure you go out and grab them because Yellow Flash is dope. And let me see if I can find that for him right now, because Yellow Flash is awesome and everybody should go out and get the Mighty Golden Patriot. And actually I'll cue this up because maybe we'll watch the Rippaverse has a little trailer for the Mighty Golden Patriot and we can watch that. But for now, I want to watch DSP over here. We're not going to watch the full thing. It's 4 minutes long. But DSP kind of summing up what a lot of people went through on that night.
Your delivery. Confirm. I got it from Walmart. Of all places, I got it from Walmart. We did it, guys. That was a nightmare, but we did it. 100%. I got confirmation. It's the standard one. I didn't get the Mario Kart bundle.
But that happiness will soon turn into sadness.
It claims I'm still in line for the Mario Kart bundle. It errored out, and then I didn't get it. But it claims I'm still in.
So just so people know, at midnight, the pre-orders went live, and this was Wednesday, I believe the pre-orders went live. And I was actually watching Kino Casino while it went live and watching them struggle in Canada to get it. But I was watching it, and they queued into DSP, and it was fucking yeah. So it was a big debacle. The stores couldn't handle the number of people pre-ordering. Nintendo wasn't ready for the numbers, and it was not handled well. It was not handled well in the slightest, but here we go.
Line for it. I'm trying to check out at Target. It won't let me check out. Every time I click on it, it just loads endlessly, and then it says error, can't complete the order. Well, just ignore me in the corner looking like an idiot. So here it is from Walmart.com. Delivery.
I love that he doxes
pre-order
himself.
date.
This idiot doxes himself. 100%.
My address, there it is. The Switch 2. Order total. Blah, blah, blah. I got it. 100% confirmed. Yeah, I'll self-dox like you guys don't know my address. It was doxed in 2014, the week that I moved here. You guys already know my address. All right? But I'm not going to show you my credit card information and everything, but that's it right here. That's the Walmart Walmart pre-order. All right, we're good. Well, everyone, this is the daily wrap for Wednesday, the 23rd, 2025. I actually already filmed a daily wrap, and it was a really positive, great one.
So
And now I have to
this is
refilm this
hilarious.
an hour later at 11:16 p.m. to tell you how messed up my situation is when people say things about how Phil over-exaggerates and Phil constantly is just talking out of his butt. So here's what happened today. We had two great streams. The first stream was Oblivion Remastered. Great fun. We hit the goals. Then the late stream was also a great stream of me building the first half of my Lego Piranha plant. We hit
Which the Lego Piranha Plant was cool, but mind you, one of them, when I was watching Casino, he had to lower his goal from $250 to $200 to hit it. So yes, he hit them. So let's keep going over here.
the goal again, which means that tomorrow we're doing DSP tries at Chipotle, and that's awesome. At 8:55 p.m., I attempted to get the Switch 2. I was going between multiple different websites, including Best Buy, Walmart, Target, and more. Couldn't get it from anywhere but Walmart. Added 2 to cart. Actually checked out both the Mario Kart bundle and this regular Switch 2. Regular Switch 2 was coming June 5th on release day. The other one is coming June 8th. Great. Checked out, paid, good to go. Finishing up my work, turned the stream off. Okay, I'm going to film the daily wrap. As I'm filming this daily wrap, I announce, hey, I got 2 Switch 2s. What a great day. Everything's amazing. And then I check my email where it proceeds to tell me that both orders have been canceled. Does it say that it's because of an error on Walmart? No, it says, I canceled the orders.
Error, error, error.
So I'm currently talking with Walmart right now about someone socially engineered my account.
No, so that's the long and short of it. It was a fucking nightmare, y'all. There are horror stories out there of people trying to get the Switch 2 pre-order and things like that. And if you're gonna go get one, I'm probably going to get one later when it's just in stores. I don't have the urgency that other people do. I was thinking about pre-ordering it, but I can't justify dropping $500 on a Switch. Maybe hopefully they lower the price at some point. I cannot justify doing that. It has PlayStation 4 technology. Like, what the fuck am I going to do that for? But eventually I'll probably grab one. But it was an absolute nightmare. I don't know if anyone in here went and grabbed the Switch 2, but it was a horror show for people to grab it. There were a lot of people that waited in line to go get them in store and things like that to do their pre-order. But it's Nintendo botched this one, y'all. And it keeps on getting worse and worse and worse and worse the more you find out about it. Nintendo, they were not ready for the numbers that they got. Apparently, over in Japan, it was just as bad. They were not ready for this to roll out in the way that it did. I know they expected good numbers, but the websites couldn't handle it. It was bad. It was bad. And it seems we seem to be getting this a lot now with these systems. People probably remember the PS5 debacle, when there just wasn't enough, and it was like people wanted them. They were willing to pay the $600 to go get a PS5, but they just didn't have any in stores. They weren't there. You couldn't order it online. It wasn't available. And PS5 still did well. They've still sold. Let's see how many units. How many PS5 systems have been sold? 75 million units worldwide. So it's like it's a lot, right? They've sold a lot. A lot of units. But it was like there was a time there where it was awful. It was awful. I have to ask Dave about the Power versus DSP arc. I mean, we talk about the Kino stuff and things like that. Dave will fill me in on stuff. But yeah, no, this is reminiscent of that. And I'm wondering if there is just, are they underselling what they think they're going to get? I don't know. We'll keep an eye on the Switch 2 stuff too, because there's a lot of things going on. Like there's people that are like, whatever, the prices are what they are, I'm going to buy it. But then there's also people that are like, oh, hell no, I'm not paying that. So we'll see. We shall see what goes on there. But I want to get to this. Like I said before, for people that are interested, I'm interested. I'm probably going to go grab one of these. This is the preview video that Rippaverse put out for Yellow Flash's brand new comic, The Mighty Golden Patriot, which you can go onto Ripasend and go, go get a part of the campaign and go buy this. Well, let's see it.
The year is 1945. World War II rages from the halls of Buckingham Palace to the shores of the Nile River. Even now, the clash between freedom and tyranny is about to boil over. Somewhere in North Africa, 2 American flyboys are soaring high on a reconnaissance mission, searching for clues to a peculiar new obsession, with the occult gripping the Nazi high command.
I think it looks pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool backstory with the whole entire World War II aesthetic and things like that. And I think it looks pretty sick. So I encourage everyone, if you're into comic books, if you like them, if you like Yellow Flash, go The Mighty Golden Patriot. It looks pretty dope. I'm probably going to grab one. It'll probably end up on the back over there, like all my other cool ones do. But yeah, that might be something I go grab. And if you're interested in it, go take a look. And if you like it, let Yellow Flash know that you'll like his stuff there. So what are we moving on to now? We got some miscellaneous fun stuff here. This is an article Dave found that it's from MIT, and I find it to be fucking weird. Now, we probably won't go through this whole thing, but new electronic skin could enable lightweight night vision goggles. MIT engineers develop ultra-thin electronic films that sense heat and other signals and could reduce the bulk of conventional goggles and scopes. I don't like that they call it skin, y'all. That is creepy. Let's see what they're talking about. MIT engineers have developed a technique to grow and peel ultra-thin, quote-unquote, skins of electronic material. The method could pave the way for new classes of electronic devices such as ultra-thin wearable sensors, flexible transistors and computing elements, and highly sensitive and compact imaging devices. As a demonstration, the team fabricated a thin membrane of polyelectric material, a class of heat-sensing material that produces an electric current in response to changes in temperature. The thinner the pyroelectric material, the better it is at sensing subtle thermal variations, which is crazy. With their new method, the team fabricated the thinnest pyroelectric material membrane yet, measuring 10 nanometers thick, and demonstrated that the film is highly sensitive to heat and radiation across the far infrared spectrum. The newly developed film could enable lighter, more portable, and highly accurate far infrared IR sensing devices with potential applications for night vision, eyewear, and autonomous driving in foggy conditions. Current state-of-the-art far IR sensors require bulky cooling elements. In contrast, the new pyroelectric thin film requires no cooling and is sensitive to much smaller changes in temperature. The researchers are exploring ways to incorporate film into lighter, higher precision night vision glasses. So these are wild, man. The things that they're coming up with are crazy. They found a new form of matter not too long ago. Not MIT, but other people. Like, they're discovering some really cool shit. And you have to wonder how much AI is helping them do this. Here's a quote. The film considerably reduces weight and cost, making it lightweight, portable, and easier to integrate. Xiaoyuan Zhang, a graduate student at MIT's Department of Material Science and Engineering, DMSE, for example, could be directly worn on glasses. The heat-sensing film could also have applications in environmental and biological sensing, as well as imaging of astrophysical phenomena that emit far infrared radiation. What's more, the new liftoff technique is generalizable beyond pyroelectric materials. The researchers plan to apply the method to make ultra-thin, high-performance semiconducting films. And that could be massive, right? To use semiconductors in terms of like the chips, make them even smaller and put them in different places. Results are awarded, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this is really cool stuff. and that talks about the different types of technologies that are in there. This is cool shit, and I like tech. Dave recommended this article to me. It's a really cool tech thing. The way that they're developing, like the way that it's like a skin, it can come on and off. It's thin, like it's creepy, but it's fucking cool. That we are now putting in electronical things where you think of electric, you think of like, here's my phone, right? It's hard. You can't really, it's not really bendable unless it has like a hinge. But they're creating things with electronics that are fully flexible and bendable, and that is a cool step into moving us along into a different age in technology. Now, once again, how much has AI had to play a role in this? I think that's a massive question. I think we're probably going to say a lot. So that's a cool thing to look at. Look for skin near you if you are ever going to get some infrared goggles. So there is that. Let's see. What do we want to head into next? Oh, this one's a funny one. Not funny for the people, but I think a funny little story in general. Boop, boop. So there is a woodpecker that has damaged more than 20 vehicles in a Massachusetts town. This woodpecker is fucking things up. Seemed to have a vandal in the neighborhood. I'm describing him as 18 to 24 inches tall, wearing black and white with the red hat, one resident said. It's like, what are you going to do? You can only laugh at this shit, right? Let's keep going here. A seaside Massachusetts town appears to have fallen prey to an overzealous pileated woodpecker that damaged more than 20 vehicles, the resident said. For weeks, Rockport locals have dealt with broken car windshields and side mirrors. Resident Janelle Favaloro was able to capture a photo of the culprit, a large crow-sized bird whacking away at vehicles. They described that we seen that the vandal, blah, blah, blah. She said the woodpecker is responsible for damaging at least 25 vehicles. The woodpecker showed up and landed on the windshield wipers of the RV in our yard and was looking at its reflection. And we were like, you know what? I bet he was the one that damaged the mirrors as well. The pileated woodpecker is nearly the size of a crow and has white stripes on the neck and a flaming red crest, according to All About Birds. Ron McGill, Zoo Miami's communications director, said one reason for the woodpecker's aggressive behavior could be peak mating season. This all means he just wants to get laid. This time of year is breeding season, so all these male birds, not just pileated woodpeckers, but all birds are getting very aggressive territorial courtship display. If they're seeing their reflections of themselves, they don't understand the reflection, he continued. They think it's a competitor. So a woodpecker's just trying to fuck something up while trying to get laid. So I found the story to be kind of funny. I'd be fucking pissed though. Like that. She's like, oh, we have a little culprit. Like, you're breaking my windshield. You're breaking my rearview mirror. I got to pay for that. It's not that funny. I fucking killed that thing. I'm not going to lie. If I caught a woodpecker destroying my windshield, destroying my, my rearview mirror, I would 100% wait for it to come on a bird feeder. I'd set up a bird feeder. Then I don't know what I would do. I don't want the wildlife to get mad at me, but I would make sure I capture this fucking thing. They need to capture this thing. I don't care if it's mating season. They need to capture this thing. Somebody needs to get this thing out of there. It's damaged 25 vehicles. That's crazy. That is crazy. That is a nuisance. Capture this thing and get it out of here. I don't care if, oh, you don't like animals. No, not if they're messing my shit up. Get that thing out of here. So there's that. And now let's move on to something a little more serious, something that hits a little bit closer to home for me, being a Jersey boy. Let's go to this tab, NBC News. 19-year-old charged in connection with massive New Jersey wildfire. Joseph Kling of Ocean Township is accused of setting wooden pallets on fire and then leaving the area without ensuring the flames are fully extinguished, prosecutors said. Hasn't he ever fucking listened to Smokey the Bear? This is exactly what Smokey the Bear has warned about in all these public service announcements for years. How do you ignore Smokey? How? It started off as you can only prevent forest fires. Now it has that weird voiceover. It makes it awkward and janky, and they couldn't even. Now you started off as like only you can prevent forest fires, and now it's like only you can prevent. And then it's like a weird, like different voice, like wildfires. I don't like it, but they changed it to wildfires. But still, this is exactly what he's warned about. There were commercials and stuff about like never leaving an ember and stuff like that. And this kid just ignored Smokey. And it's serious because let's go 19-year-old accused from Jersey is accused of starting a massive wildfire that prompted thousands of evacuations and burned around 15,000 acres and destroyed a commercial building. Joseph Kling was arrested and charged with aggravated arson and arson. The Ocean County Prosecutor's Office said Thursday. The fire, named the Jones Road Wildfire, erupted Tuesday in Waretown and spread throughout the southern Ocean County area. Prosecutors accused Kling of setting wooden pallets on fire and then leaving the area without ensuring the blaze was fully extinguished. Thursday afternoon, the fire had burned 15,200 acres and was 50% contained. There have been no deaths and no loss of homes, officials said. Ocean County Prosecutor Bradley D. Billheimer did not comment Thursday on why the fire was set. He noted that prosecutors don't have a proof of motive. We can just confidently say that we think the fire was set intentionally, Billheimer said. The fire wasn't set that far back inside the forest, he said. Billheimer said that some technological advances led Kling being placed at the scene, and prosecutors have corroborating witness statements. The Cedar Bridge Fire Tower, located in a plume of smoke coming from the area of Jones Road and Bryant Road in Ocean Township. Just before 10 a.m. on Tuesday, emergency personnel observed a fire within the Ocean County Natural Lands Trust Forked River Mountains Wilderness area. The case of the fire was determined to be incendiary by an improperly extinguished bonfire, the prosecutor's office said in the news release. Kling is being held at the Ocean County Jail pending a detention hearing. So, they said they think it was intentional. So intentional in terms of setting the fire, right? So it looks like they intentionally had a bonfire going. That's what it sounds like. But it doesn't seem like the kid decided to burn things down. I don't think doesn't seem like he was an activist or anything like that, trying to make a point. Now, why this hits close to home, Ocean Township, I have friends that live in Ocean. My family is a few towns over. And I asked them, are you guys okay? They're like, yeah. But like, they smell smoke in the air the whole time. They had ashes coming down from it. Like, it's some scary shit. And this is like reminiscent of back with Sandy when Seaside was on fire. It's a lot. So let's keep going. The fire destroyed a commercial building and some vehicles, and it forced the closure of a section of the Garden State Parkway on Tuesday. 4 structures remain threatened Thursday in the State Forest Fire Service. About 5,000 residents were evacuated, but orders have since been lifted, which is awesome. On Wednesday, the acting New Jersey governor, Tahisha Way, declared a state of emergency. Fire officials and Sean M. Latorde, state commissioner in environmental protections, have said the fire is expected to burn for a couple more days. Latorde said it could end up being the biggest wildfire in the state in 20 years, and he said firefighters truly averted a major disaster. New Jersey is some of the most volatile wildlife fuels in the country. New Jersey Forest Fire Service Chief Bill Donnelly said to Thursday, high winds exacerbated the fire spread, officials said. We could just not get far enough ahead of the fire based on its behavior that we were actually able to keep it in check, Donnelly said. Rain in the forecast area for Saturday, which is always a good sign for wildfires. So from what we found out for now, doesn't seem intentional. I'm happy everyone is safe. Happy nobody died. Happy nobody lost their homes. We know how devastating the California fires were for people. And I'm just happy that, people in my, home county and stuff like that are safe. And hopefully, they find out exactly what happened. If it was just, kids having a bonfire and he left it without making sure it was extinguished. And I mean, again, they should have consequences for it, right? Like, there's a reason why these laws exist. He burned a lot of land. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what's going on there. And we're going to end up on a high note and on a good story, because I think this is a good little story and we're going to watch it because it's adorable. So let's get to this. Boom, boom. And this is how we're going to end off our day here today. Let's
The future of trading is here on Robinhood.
This crap. In 8 seconds, we'll see what this is. Stupid, stupid, stupid ads. I hate all these dumb ads.
The perimeter nightly.
Back.
Buford, the Anatolian Pyrenees.
Buford, come on.
Protects the Dutton Ranch, walking the perimeter nightly to keep wildlife out.
It's in their blood, they're guardians and stuff.
But on Tuesday morning, there was someone else Buford protected.
Way there, I see Buford coming down the deal right there with a little little blonde-haired boy with him.
That blonde-haired boy's parents reported him missing the night before after he wandered away from his home in Seligman.
He was young and ended up wandering further than anyone would have hoped.
The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, alongside other agencies, conducted a 16-hour search for the 2-year-old.
Not only did we search
That's
on
terrifying.
foot, but also there were some of the razors and 4x4s, as well as we did make use of some of the helicopters to make sure that we were doing everything we could to locate the child.
It was Buford who found the toddler about 7 miles away from home, sleeping underneath a tree.
There was 1,000 ways for that to go really, really bad and one good way, and luckily it turned out to be the good way.
The wonder of how a toddler managed to survive walking through rugged terrain without sustaining more than a few scratches will never fade for Scotty Dutton.
There's 3 big canyons and ridges all the way towards where he came from, so it's a long, rough piece of country, so it's amazing he made it as far as he did.
But Dutton knows if it wasn't for Buford, this happy ending might never have happened.
She's cooking him a steak for dinner tonight.
Near Kingman, Gabriella Becerra, 12 News Today.
So that's a good story. It's a good way to end this off here on a nice story where all's well that ends well. That could have went terrible. A 2-year-old wandering, and I can't imagine being those parents and what they were going through, especially, your 2-year-old wanders away and search team can't even find them. But he was found. Thank you, Buford, for being a good boy. They're all good boys. Everyone, if you can get a dog, you should get a dog. They're all good boys and good girls. But yeah, happy that ended well. That kid's safe. The family is reunited, and they're probably not going to helicopter over this child because this child obviously, is a kid. Kids wander. And pretty badass story going over, the guy saying there's canyons and stuff. So that's pretty, the kid's a baller. So, but yeah, so that's going to round this out tonight. I appreciate everyone that watched, wherever you watched from. Thank you very much. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You're listening to this via podcast. Thank you as well. And make sure you go do your due diligence. Go find us on the socials at The Alex Questa Show. I'll be back Wednesday. We have a good show for you guys Wednesday. So you'll be excited for that. I believe David will be joining me on that one. So I'm excited, and I'll see everybody then.